See that? You don't know.
Yeah, it totally was fine. They were just making sure. Okay. Back at it. Yeah, so sometimes.
Yes.
Send me the invites.
I will do that. We will come from Lynn. She's in jet 6 o'clock.
Good, we're recording.
Social Security and Medicare.
All right. We're all set. We'll start off, first public hearing, is hearing on a resolution to expend funds from the district's flex account for fiscal year 24, Mensana Wellness Solutions LLC services, and fiscal year 24 staff payroll and benefits, but not limited to any general fund purpose. These funds in the amount of $20,000 were unexpended and unobligated from the homeschool assistance program for fiscal year 23. We'll open the public hearing.
I have not received any written or oral comments. And so just as a brief summary of this, this is the flexible spending. There was a balance in homeschool assistance program that we've used in the past. And so for this year, to support the Messina Wellness Solution purchase services, that it was decided to use $20,000 of the flexible spending to transfer over there. The Messina is only $19,000 and some dollars, so there's just a small difference that'll be just used for salaries and benefits. But this is, we've done this for the past 2 years. And we have been able to reduce our homeschool assistance program ending fund balance, which the purpose of using that is because homeschool assistance program, there's not much you can use those dollars on. And as long as we are supporting that program with everything it needs, and then the leftover funds is in excess and we need to spend them. So this is one way we can reduce that ending balance down.
What
And
can we spend those on? Yeah, just, and when you said there's.
basically, our homeschool assistance program, we have a 0.8 teacher. And then we do supplies for homeschool. And that's about it. And there's a limit of what you can use those supplies for and how much we give families. And we also have an inventory on hand. So it's not like we need to buy supplies all the time. We have an inventory, a library that they can use for documents and books. And so there is pretty limited with what we can do. So I think after this year, we are going to be pretty close of an ending fund balance that we probably will not continue to do this in that fund anyway. We will have reduced the ending fund balance to a point that we're still comfortable with rolling that over as a support and ending balance for a cushion in case there's an influx. COVID was an example that because of it was COVID. And there was parents wanting choice and were comfortable with it. So we had an increase of students taking the homeschool assistance program approach. And so then that increased our funding, and now we're just using that to transfer. But we are doing, and Christine, we are supporting that. We've been in communication with the homeschool coordinator, and she is aware of what we're doing. We are just to a point that we needed to spend it down, and this has been a way that we've been able to do that.
Unless there's any public forum on that, we'll adjourn the public hearing. Next, public hearing on the proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of costs for the proposed Gilbert Middle School addition project. Do we have any public comments on that?
I have not received anything written or oral. Patrick or Steve, do you guys have anything to offer in?
Can we give an update? So this is the first of many potential projects here in Gilbert. This is for the middle school front entry addition, so it's creating a secure entry at the front of middle school. We distributed plans and specifications out to the online plan rooms 2 weeks ago today. This bids on the 26th. Right now, we're tracking 9 prime contractors on the plan holders list that are interested in this project. A good gauge of that will be our pre-bid meeting, which is scheduled for Wednesday. While the prime contractors on site at the middle school will be able to ask questions, take a look at the existing conditions, and just get a feel for the project in person rather than just on paper. That'll be a pretty telling gauge as to how many are pretty serious about bidding here in 2 weeks. So it's looking pretty good from a coverage standpoint as of right now. We'll keep counting them to make sure we answer questions in a timely manner and we get bids in. We're slated to start construction here in April. We're targeted to complete that entry substantially complete in September. And so it unfortunately is right after school starts. We're going to do the best we can to expedite as much as possible. But by then that space will be closed up. So there's no need for like a secure partition or anything like that to keep the kids out of that space. But yeah, so far, no major red flags or questions from the bidders. And it's looking like we should have a pretty good pre-bid meeting and bidder turn.
All right. Thank you. All right, we'll adjourn the public hearing. Up next, we have a public hearing on the 24-25, 25-26, and 26-27 school calendars. Do we have any public comment or comments?
I have not received any written or oral.
We'll adjourn the public hearing on the calendars. Call the regular meeting to order. Roll call.
Josh,
Here.
Nathan,
Here.
Melissa, here, Mindy, here, Andrew,
Here.
and Abigail is not joining us.
All right, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, public forum, we have one here for discussion. Just as a reminder, you're speaking to us. We can't take action on anything that you're bringing to us today. We're not really much of an interaction that we can have, but we're happy to hear it. We thank you for bringing that to us.
Would you prefer I stand or
Whatever is most comfortable to you.
either way? My name is Dave Rabine. I'm a member of the American Legion Post in Ames. We also serve the community of Gilbert, since there is no Legion Post here in town. And what we'd like to talk to you about are a couple of the youth programs that we sponsor that we're having a little difficulty getting to the students to get them involved. First one that I want to touch on is there's actually two. There's a boys' state and there's a girls' state. One by the American Legion, the other by the American Legion Auxiliary. They're week-long programs on state government. What happens is that the students that are selected, boys' state is done at Camp Dodge for a week in June, girls' state is done at Drake University for a week in June. When they get there, they will start setting up a state, city, county government. We provide them with the structure. They do all the selection of who's going to be in which offices. And they then go on to decide what the content is going to be. What things are they going to discuss? What city ordinances, what county regulations, what state laws. The last thing of the week, they on Friday morning at Boys State, they will go to the state capitol, where the governor will actually work out of the governor's office for a little while. The two houses of the legislature will meet in those chambers. Like I said, we provide the structure. They make the decisions as to who the office holders and appointees should be, what the content is. We get first class students from all over the state. In order to go to Boys State or Girls State, you have to have just finished your junior year. It's a program where, and we always get somewhere between 6 and a dozen applicants to the military academies in each of those two classes. Boys and girls. If you're selected for Boys State, the military academies give you extra points on your application because they think it's a very well-rounded program. So we're looking for those students right now. The students in your junior class, we want to interview them. We want to talk to them about going to Boys or Girls State. But as I said, the problem is finding out who they are. They don't know us, we don't know them. So let me go on to the other one. That's what we call the oratorical contest. It's a speech contest based on the US Constitution. That is already in progress for this year, so anything we do would need to be done for next year. It's a two-phase contest. Each student will address some part of the Constitution, 8 to 10 minutes worth, a part of the Constitution of their choosing. So they can talk about the whole document, they can talk about one article if they want to. Secondly, then there's 4 possible assigned topics. One will be chosen and they will speak on that for 3 to 5 minutes. That's quite often where the rubber meets the road, because they don't know exactly which topic it's going to be until that 5-minute period starts. That contest will wind up with a national champion that will have a $28,000 scholarship for becoming national champion. Now there's other levels of scholarship along the way, so they're going to be well over, probably in the neighborhood of 35,000 by the time they get there. But that's one. All the rest of them, every state champion gets scholarships. There's prizes all along the way. What we'd like to ask of you, and I know you can't take action, but as I said, we have trouble attracting the students because we don't know them, they don't know us. At times in the past, we've had teachers or guidance counselors that would recommend the programs. We currently don't have that. And so what we would ask of you is if you would in some way maybe endorse the program is too strong a word, but let it be known amongst the faculty that you think these are good programs and that you would like to see students from Gilbert have a better opportunity to participate in these programs. Other than that, I'd be open to questions.
There's no cost for a student.
No, there's no cost to the students at all. As far as there might be some cost to the parents to get delegates back and forth to Boys or Girls State, but that's Camp Dodge and Drake University. As far as the oratorical contest is concerned, we pick up the travel expenses as that contest moves up through the various levels.
For the Boys and Girls State, are you seeing statewide a reduction in students participating in this, or is this, I mean, overall, what are you seeing numbers wise from the students?
Right now, we're trying to come back from COVID. Because of COVID, essentially, we missed a year. And once you know what it's like in the school system, once you miss a year, it's a lot of work to come back. What's worked for us in the past also, along with the faculty, is okay, so the delegates that will go this summer are juniors right now. So they will be back as seniors next year and we can use them as references. But we lost that year. And so we have that gap. It's turning out to be real hard to fill.
How many are participating in that?
This year, we're anticipating at Camp Dodge for Boys State, something on the order of 250 to 300 students. Girls State is not quite that size. They're a little bit more constrained at Drake University on on facilities, but that one will probably be in the 200 neighborhood. And it's interesting when you see when you see students from high schools where they might only have 24 in their class. And now they're bumping up against kids from Ames and Roosevelt and the big schools. It really is a culture shock for both sets of them. Not just for the students from the small schools, but for the students from the big schools too. Because they're having to deal with the agriculture culture that most of those students from smaller schools come from.
So do students apply on their own, or they need sponsorship from somebody in the school system? How does that work?
Our American Legion post and the American Legion Auxiliary Unit pay the costs. And what we need to get is names and contact information on interested students so that we can schedule interviews. Ideally, we would like to have twice as many applicants as there are slots, just to make sure that we can really pick the cream of the crop.
If I'm correct, I think there's some QR codes on the poster right there.
Yes.
And probably last fall, I stopped by the high school and I dropped off a couple posters and hoping to get these up. And right now we have 2 juniors currently that are interested, 2 juniors and interested in Boys State. And one of those, their dad is in the Legion, so that's how he found out about it. He hasn't seen any of this, so maybe he hasn't seen it or like that. Girls State, we have one, my daughter, she's a junior. And she's been selected to go to Girls State and still looking for more.
And of course, we're looking for applicants out of Ames side too.
How many does your post get to send?
I'm sorry.
How many do you guys get to send to?
We'll send 4 boys to Boys State. I can't tell you the number to Girls State, but I'm guessing it's 2 or 3. And frankly, we have 4 spots reserved. If we get a 5th student that we think needs to go, we can generally find a spot some other way.
There's a goal to get the numbers up to like 400 or 500 at Boys State. And if there's a post out there that's like, hey, we have a spot, we have the money available, we'll find a boy sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
I sat in on a meeting with a Legion Auxiliary with my wife and my daughter, and they had 3 girls, 2 from Boone and 1 girl, I forget where she was from, but it's quite a distance away. So when there's money, they'll try to do their best to try to find girls throughout the state. When my son Seth graduated in 18, and when he went, there was six boys, and they ended up sending 4. And unfortunately, 2 didn't have the funds to send those 2, and everybody else was full up. So unfortunately, there's 2 that did not get to go. But that's just between now and then, that's kind of difference in the numbers.
Great. I would just like to say thank you so much for coming in and sharing this important information with us. Also, I know our principal of the high school, Cindy, is here with us, and so she and I will work together to come up with the best group to tap, if you will, whether it's our counselors or what that looks like to reach out to our kids. So thank you for bringing it forward to us. We really appreciate it.
Should have one more thing about the summer coaches, the city. This week is a week. When Seth went to Boys State, he was in baseball at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And baseball coach had a policy of you miss a week, you sit a week. And I was kind of curious if that's just the way it is statewide, if that's just the way it is here at Gilbert, or if we can work with that and maybe get that if a boy goes to Boys State, or if you're going to something like that, maybe we can get him to not miss 2 weeks.
Yes, we understand that coach's policy probably has to do with vacations as much as anything, but these are programs that they get value out of. They're not just going to the beach for a week.
Yeah.
And so we'd like to be able to work with the coach and see what we could do to minimize that.
We'll follow up with Ian Smith as our activities athletic director, and so we can follow up with him and have him reach out to our coaches and see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
And all of my grandkids either go to school or graduated from here, thank you for having a really good school system.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public forum?
My part is to be back. Big back, is that okay?
Oh, we want us, yeah.
Or two, and then you can take the rest.
I'll leave that.
Yeah,
For us.
yeah,
That works.
that'd be great.
Okay.
And then we'll make sure they get out.
Get out and then I'll have these and I bring it by the schools. Thank you very much.
All right. Moving on, oral reports, announcements, celebrations.
Yes, very exciting. There's always so many wonderful things taking place, so we can talk about that in a minute, but first, I'd like to turn it over to our Executive Director of Human Resources and School Support, Vic Vanderpool. Mr. Vic Vanderpool is going to share with us and welcome our new food service director.
Welcome.
My pleasure to introduce Tace Clark, better known as Chef Clark to the rest of us. She's been here just about a month now, and we didn't quite make the deadline at the last board meeting, so we wanted to make sure that we gave an opportunity for her to have some face-to-face time with our board. Tace grew up on the East Coast, had an opportunity to train under some great chefs along the East Coast. Before coming to Iowa, during her time in Iowa, she worked at a athletic club in Des Moines, where she oversaw several restaurants and a catering service before moving to Grinnell College. She was assistant food service director at Grinnell. Following that, she was at the Baxter School District most recently and had done a wonderful job. And their superintendent was a little heartbroken to lose her, but we were more than happy to take her. So, she's been an outstanding addition to the district. In the time that I've been here, I don't think we've received any feedback like we're getting now. It's been amazing. Every day it's something. It's, we're getting people stopping us on the street. We're getting students reaching out to us to tell us how great things are. It's just been an amazing start to her career here with the district. And we couldn't be more happy to have her and her family very close by. So give her a couple seconds if she'd like to say a couple things, and then maybe share a few things that you've been up to since you've been here.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been having a really good time. We've been an amazing team. I've felt completely welcomed by every member of the Gilbert community from the moment I sent my application all the way through higher and beyond. It's just been really fantastic communication, and I'm excited to kind of continue that and learn a little bit more about the district and what everyone's priorities are. Right now, we're just starting with taking a look at food safety and quality, moving out some products that don't really meet the requirements that we're hoping to obtain with some real food. Less processed, more natural, more fruits and vegetables and whole muscle meats and things of that nature. So we're working on that. We're working on training the team and just kind of moving in the right direction. We've got some grand plans for the future to try to keep moving towards getting a better nutrition information up on our website in the next couple of weeks here. Improving some of our marketing on how our menus look, taking a look at how we can improve some of our environmental impacts when I'm done with the training. Right now, we've been using entirely too much disposable things, but it takes the pressure off of my team when they're trying to learn how to cook all new products. So there's just a lot going on. I was really excited for the opportunity to come to Gilbert because it's small enough to get to know the community, but big enough to have some really neat opportunities. So I'm really excited to be here.
Is there anything you'd like to share?
No, I would just like to welcome Tace. We're so happy to have you, or Chef Clark, and I cannot say enough wonderful things just to echo what Vic said. She comes with such great experience, and I continue to get emails, just as Vic said, stopped at basketball games, wherever, being told just how many wonderful changes are coming and happening for our kids. Our kids are excited, and so and I thought, well, if that's a few weeks in, can't wait till we're down the road 6 months, what that's going to look like. So thank you for your leadership already, and we're thrilled to have you part of our team.
Like we need to open up a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like, Patrick, you wanna just, like a drive-through?
Yeah. Yes, there was, she did whisper once that, she's, created things for board meetings before, so that might be in our future. Dinner sometimes. So, I don't want to put that pressure on yet, but yeah.
And she'll also be a big part of helping to design the new kitchen at the elementary, which is perfect timing to have somebody come in with her experience. She's already met with some kitchen consultants, and there are more meetings to come to try to determine what that kitchen is gonna look like. We're pretty excited about the future of food service, so. Thank you.
Thank you, welcome.
Yes.
I've heard wonderful things. Thank
Perfect,
you
I
very much.
appreciate it. Any questions or anything like that? Everybody good? All right.
Great job.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
I will tell you, I have to tell this one little piece about Taste. Sorry, Taste, I'm gonna tell on you a little bit. One thing in her interview, she said that really struck me is that she says, well, if we're gonna try a new food, and I know it can't always be this way, but the example she gave is, well, we try to look for a day where the kids are out early. Because if kids don't care for it and they don't eat, we don't want them to be learning all day on an empty stomach. So if we do it on an early out, then they can go home and get something maybe they like. And I thought, wow, that's student first, and that really is good thinking, and so she always has our best interest of kids in mind, so, and her team, so I'm very grateful to her for that, so. Thank you.
Anything else for announcements or celebrations? Moving on, Spanish department, 2025 Spain trip.
Welcome.
Hello, I am Lacey Moore and I am here to present our hopefully approved Spain trip for next summer. I got the privilege of going last summer and it was a blast. It was so much fun. So we're ready to go back. So we're looking at June 6th through the 15th would be the dates that we would go. And then some of the places, so the first place that we would go would be Madrid. So there's a picture from our last summer trip there, and we visit some plazas, the Royal Palace, a soccer stadium, and one of the really fun things was a cooking class. So we got to learn how to make paella, which is a national dish there, and they teach us how to do it, and that was really, really fun. So that would be Madrid would be the first day, and then the next day would be Sevilla. And there we get to take the AVE train, which is like the high-speed train in Europe, which is really fun. We did some ceramic tiles, so we made our own tiles, which was awesome. They teach us kind of about the history of it, and then we go and see it out in the buildings, and we go to a flamenco show, which is really fun. So just kind of a really fun day. Then we did a stop at Ronda, and then we head down to Costa del Sol, which is the beach, the resort. So we get to go to the ocean and do some fun things there. So there was some GHS shows from last year. And then we go to the Alhambra. So again, a picture from last summer in Granada, and there's just a lot of really great history in Spain that we learn about, and different museums and different things that we get to see. And then finally we went to Toledo, and this was new to me, the Feu de Foie. I'd never been there before. It's actually French. But so it was like a French show that started, and then they brought it to Spain, and it was amazing. It was like the coolest thing ever. It was like a Vegas show, but like ginormous, and it was awesome. It was really, really cool. So the kids really liked that. So and of course they get the swords in Toledo. It's very fun. So it's a really awesome trip, a great opportunity. Right now we're looking at about $4,800, maybe a little less depending on airfare and things. And then you can see those are the things that are included, but we would love the opportunity to get to take students again. It's really great. Do you have any questions for me?
How many students went last year?
So I think we had a total of 20 people. I think we had 13 or 14 students, Mr. Aliman and myself, and then we had 3 parents.
This is after June. Or what year is this? That the kids go?
What year is it?
Yeah,
We went last June as well.
But what age are the students?
Oh, sorry, we took sophomores and juniors, not seniors, because we don't take them once they graduated.
What language level are they?
So they would be Spanish 2 and Spanish 3 students.
Conversational?
I mean, yeah, like in some places, especially when they go out to have lunch, they have to speak it, on their own. We do have a guide with us the whole time that is English speaking in case, anything were to come up, but, that's always the part that they're the most nervous about is talking, but that's why I think it's great to do the things like the cooking class and the tile class and things that kind of force them to have to do some things in the language.
Is there any interaction with students there?
We tried to have that last time and it actually fell through. We were supposed to play a game with some students. So we're hoping with our travel agent, it was hard because of the time that we were there, but that is something that we would really like to do.
The cost of each family pays, or is it
Yeah.
fundraising, or what does that look like?
So it was per student. When we had our meeting last year, we kind of said, is there anyone interested in trying to figure out fundraising things? And we didn't really have any people interested in that. Most students, they said worked, and either paid part of it themselves and had their parents pay part. We're definitely open to figuring that out, but like I said, there wasn't really any interest from parents or students in trying to come up with something for that. So how they kind of have it spread out for the payment is through our travel agency on the website. I think it was monthly, so it's like $400 and some every month. So we'll have our parent meeting in April, and then they can kind of sign up in May, and then depending on when they sign up, then that's their payments kind of each month through that. So I know lots of kids worked in the summer and things like that to get ready for that.
But what you're proposing is June of 25.
Yes, correct, yeah.
Just want to clarify.
We try to go opposite Costa Rica, so Costa Rica is going this year, and we could go to
Looks like a lot of fun.
It was fun, great fun. All right, thank you.
Administrative reports?
Okay, that takes us right into the department updates. You can see there's a lot of information, a lot happening. Just a couple of highlights that I wanted to touch on within that is we had a team, some of them are here this evening, that went to the Leader in Me Symposium in Texas. And really the feedback I'm getting from them has just been nothing but really positive. So there's of course sessions that they went to help in the area of implementation of what does that look like. And in addition to that, there's school visits. So it's always good learning when school visits are involved. So we're excited about that. Carrie Clark was here, Stacey Edwards is here. So they went, and I heard really good feedback from them. So I want to thank them because it's always hard to be away, but it's also really great learning. So excited about that. So the other thing that we have talked about in the past is just the website is continuing to be refreshed, remodeled, renewed. And so Troy's been working on that. And continues to do so. So that's coming along really, really well. We're excited about that. And then you met Takes tonight. So there's lots of things happening, but those are just a few highlights.
Mental wellness report?
The mental wellness report is our first meeting is coming up. We have had, I think the number is just over 50 people respond saying that they're coming. And we couldn't be more excited about that. Lindsay Good is kind of the project lead on that. So she's been working, she sent out the invites, even people that weren't able to attend, they sent really nice, like, I'm so sorry, but I want to be updated, or let me know how else I can support this, and people feeling really good about it. So that's very exciting. We had our first meeting with the principals also to kind of launch that off so that we're ready for that meeting. And the location of the meeting, something a little new, is downtown Gilbert. We have a new, Owl's Perch is what it's called. We need a space that's big enough for that many people. And so we are working with them so that we have a space right down. It's what used to be the Little Tigers or the Tiger Den or something like that was called. I'm not sure, but Little Tigers maybe. And so it's been remodeled to a event space. And so we're happy to be utilizing that space and ready to go with that. So that is what's happening. We'll have more information as we go along on that, but we're
Next, Superintendent Trujillo to attend the National Conference on Education in some warm place.
Yes, I do get to attend the national conference. I'm leaving on Wednesday, very excited. The team is ready to be available for anybody that needs support while we're here, but looking forward to collaborating with other superintendents across the country. And the learning is always incredible, and that collaborative piece is always a neat part of it too, with the collegial side. So people from across the country, but also there's quite a few superintendents right in this area that are attending as well. So they have us get together also with our local friends, and then also we meet new people. And it's somebody asked me recently, well, what kinds of sessions are there? And there's everything from school safety to teaching of reading to leadership on how we're implementing change and what that looks like, strategic planning. So those are the sessions. I just today sat down and started looking at, okay, what are some sessions that are of interest? So really excited. I'm very thankful to all of you for supporting that and in my own learning. So I'll be happy to report back.
Go on, keep learning.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Daryl, okay, you're missing Valentine's Day?
Yes, he's
Okay.
gonna be okay.
Daryl?
Don't worry, I got his flowers already ordered, Andrew. Don't worry.
Yeah. All right. Board reports. Moving on, facilities. Facilities master planning update. Just gonna let Patrick, just gonna take it from there.
Talk for a couple minutes, give you guys an update where we're at. I think Joe's on vacation right now, so he unfortunately doesn't get to talk to you guys tonight. He's got the pretty pictures, I just have information. So. Some of you received the communication and will be, we talked earlier, everyone will be receiving a weekly communication on what's happening, schedules, and what's coming up for the projects moving forward. I guess last week, moving on. So if you see an email from me, you can either totally disregard it or read it and ask any questions you have. So I'll just start talking about schedule. So like we already talked about, the middle school secure entry is we have that going this week, the pre-bid meeting, and then that bid's on the 26th, and that's for summer for construction this upcoming summer. So that's just the small addition for the secure entry. There's in phase 2, there's more projects that are happening at the middle school. For the PK2 building, we are currently our team de novo is bidding or getting pricing on our design development set. So we're kind of halfway through the design phase right now. So getting as much up-to-date information from contractors to make sure that our pricing and the design that we're pricing to is matching what our budget is. So on Monday, we'll come back, we'll have a really in-depth page turn, talk schedule, talk budget, really see where things are sitting, and make sure that we're on the right track. So then that is planning to bid in May. It's like May and June is when we'll be bidding that for start this fall, and then anticipated occupancy there is August of 2026. In the works right now at the very beginning stages, and I think there's been discussions. I don't know if Joe's shown images of it to this group, but schematic designs are just programming of the high school projects. So the science wing and the gym addition. So those are at the very beginning phases of that project. Just big picture, planning on probably bidding that this fall for summer, the following spring. And then the district office is another one that is in the beginning phases of really understanding where that's going. We've got surveys out and just trying to get those pieces put together for when it makes sense to bid that, where it's gonna be, what it's gonna look like. So. And then down the road, there's a couple other things that are in limbo based on some soil reports we're gonna get back. So just trying to bring everything together from the individual projects and holistic from a project standpoint together to be as efficient as possible. So. Any questions on the breadth of the projects and any scheduling?
Obviously, we're working, Nathan and I will be, attending a joint meeting with city council tomorrow, and that's just a kind of like a kickoff. After the kickoff, so to speak, just to make sure we're seamlessly integrating with the city on all these projects. So that they're getting good communication from us, so then we're able to kind of, move this along as fast as reasonably possible with them. And Patrick's been sending out, we're kind of increasing the communication to all the involved parties, which is more than just us, so. We're ramping that up, especially as we get closer and closer to digging shovels.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Patrick, I want to thank you. Your communications are very thorough. I'm excited for the increased cadence.
Yep.
That'll help just keep everybody involved, better informed, which should help this process.
Yep, absolutely. Excited to keep pushing that forward.
And just procedurally, as you read those reviews, if something comes up that you have an additional question for, it would be, I know it's our instinct to go right to Patrick, but if you would send it to me and then I'll make sure that we get it to Patrick, but that way I'll keep kind of a running list and send it back to everyone so that you're all getting the same information back. So as you read those and you can see that, they're very thorough and they kind of tell you what we've been working on and what's coming up and what we're thinking about next. And so as you have questions, feel free to just send that off to me as an email. I might wait a day just to see, do I have any others? I'll send that off to Patrick, but then I'll resend it out or have Patrick send it out to every board member. So you all get that same information.
Patrick, you may not know this, because I know Joe might be the one to ask, but during our work session, he mentioned there was a traffic study that he had just gotten back, like the day before.
Yep.
He presented to the board. I thought it was this meeting, but obviously it wasn't this one. Do you know when we'll start to see that, or has anybody in the facilities committee seen that or heard about that?
We have talked about it internally. We discussed it with them. I do not know when Bolton and Mink is planning on coming and presenting that.
Okay.
Yep.
I think it's done, right? And I think Joe has it, I believe.
I think there was one or two things they had a question about once we had our internal review on it.
Okay.
For a couple clarifications that was about a week ago, I think. So I'll follow up with Dr. Chi.
I
Make sure it's on there. No, yeah, that's obviously something that's been in the works, so.
Nothing remarkable or overly surprising with that, or
Not really.
to be continued.
Yeah, there was nothing. And I think we're still working on the scope of some of the projects of the phase 2. So without having those clearly defined right now, that makes any moves as far as what that looks like from a traffic standpoint just kind of still up in the air. So
I just know, meeting with the city, that's a big topic in the city, so I'm mostly asking the question because the meeting's coming up tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be brought up.
Yeah.
So we just need to make sure we're on top of it and working with them.
Yep.
Going forward.
Yep. Any other questions?
Oh, get under budget, Patrick.
We're working on it.
Say that every time you come, so.
That's all right. It's good. We know where we need to be. We got our marching orders, so.
Says go over budget.
Yeah.
What did you say? Go.
No one
Is that
said
what you said?
And everybody's been under budget.
You can go faster, that's fine. For the same amount of money.
We go faster.
No, I gotta go slower and cheaper.
Yeah.
Slower.
Silver and cheaper.
All right.
Cool. No, I mean, from an overall, we are where we need to be from a design standpoint on the middle school and the PK2 that meets the goals of the district. When we wanted early conversations about when we wanted to be on those as the number one priority projects. And so we're on pace with that. So just making sure that we are able to maintain that and meet those goals is what we're marching towards.
Do you think the bidding environment that we'll have with the middle school is gonna be comparable to what we might see with the PK2?
We'll have quite a different setup between those projects. So with the middle school project, we call that a single project. So in the construction world, that'd be like a general contractor that manages all subcontractors. The reason for that project specifically is due to the projected value of that project. We need to have a project that has a high enough value to attract those bidders. That one specifically is much smaller. Your pre-K will be what we call multi-prime. We could have 8 to 12 prime packages split up from everything from earthwork to civil to the structure itself and on. We have already received tons of interest in the pre-K projects from those various scopes. So whether it be electricians or excavators or mechanical teams, they're all very interested. As part of that, we try to get the ball rolling on interest by doing cost checks with these contractors. We've got historic information that's fairly recent that we can tend to rely on, but your best numbers are going to be taking a design development set that's not all the way baked out, send it to a contractor for that scope and say, hey, give me what you're, take a week's long shot. So not as long as they would for bidding, but they give you a pretty good number, more confidence in that number than say our own just cost per square foot. So that has drummed up quite a bit of interest and we're receiving questions on the project before they can ask questions. So that's a good sign. It is a tight bid window. I know we talked about that. Not the most ideal time to bid, but it lines up where we have to bid to be in on time. Even so, we're confident we're getting coverage on that.
I like the advanced work there. Get as much of that done before we have to make stuff happen.
Yeah, it's all about making sure they're aware of it, getting excited about it, and also them know what the project is gonna look like, helps them when it does go out to bid. And like Steven said, we would like to be bidding in the fall for spring work, just like we're gonna do for the high school, but based on when that occupancy date made the most sense, working backwards, that's why we landed where we are. So,
it's the right project to do that with. Of all the projects in the portfolio, this one could alleviate those bid risks in our opinion. It'll be the most attractive.
Excellent. Okay. Questions? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to old business. We have policy, third reading of new board policy 503.08R1. Discipline of students who make threats of violence or cause incidents of violence, student threats of violence and incidents of violence. With approval as read, this is required by HF 604. Do we have a motion to approve the new board policy as read?
Want to give a quick update, and let's go on, we discussed last week, so just kind of walk through some of the changes.
Sure, so if you recall. Should be more important, Mr. President, members of the board, if you recall that, this one, so thank you to Mindy who pointed out there was some discrepancies in some of the leveling. So I met with the principals, went back to them, we put those back in so that there was consistency within each grade level. The one that you'll see where it changes a little bit is under the grades 6 through 8. It says removal from temporary removal from extracurricular activities. That's the one you don't see in the lower grades because technically we don't really have extracurricular activities in the lower grades. So that's where you see that shift. Other than that, we put those other options in there just as that. They're options. So that if you need that opportunity, unfortunately, I guess to put it that way, as a disciplinary reason, it's available for administrators. So that's the change we made. This came from, if you remember where we started with this policy, it came from IASB to say this is what needs to be put in, and then they had vetted it. And then there was a portion that we needed to work on together as administrators to make sure that it aligned, and so we just moved those pieces over. So it's a beginning, as there's more work to be done, not in the policy, but in the practice. And so we need to have more conversations around that, but as far as the policy is concerned, we just moved that into this format, and then made sure it was aligned properly. So.
Else on that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Alright. New business. Consider approve request for the Gilbert High School Spanish Department Spain trip. We have a discussion or a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Real quick before we go to vote,
Yeah.
the only comment I want to make on it, obviously I'm gonna vote yes for it. Is I just want to make sure that the students, somehow, some way, if the students can't afford it, I want to make sure that somehow. I don't even know what that looks like, but we make sure that it's just not for students who can afford it. For students that we know about, I know they said all they want is for fundraising, but if there's students that we know would be great at this trip and showing interest in the trip, that we figure out some creative to get a fundraising effort somehow, some way to make sure it's open to all students. That'd be my only request, because again, I get it, the parents that want to go are gonna send the kids and the cost is not a big deal, but I guarantee you there's kids that just look at the cost and say, there's no way, heck, my family's gonna afford that. And I just think that if you know, as a either an administrator or as a teacher of those students, I just want to get creative in how we get those kids there. So that's my only comments on it.
I have a motion I made and I did not catch the second. Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Consider approve the 24-25, 25-26, and 26-27 district school calendars. Discussion on the calendars.
Let me, if I may, just give a little bit of information. So the calendars have been posted. We did send that out. We received, and Vic can speak more to this. I'll just, we did receive some feedback, and Stacy also worked significantly also on the calendars to look at every minute, every day, every possibility, and then also looking at the comments that came back to say, for example, and I'll let Vic talk, but maybe like about the Mondays, maybe if you had mentioned about days off and things like that. And Stacy works really hard at making sure our minutes, our days, and our hours are all aligned with what we need within the state. So I'll just turn it over to them, let them talk for a few minutes.
Absolutely. We sent the calendar out to the community almost a month ago. We received 24 comments. It was about a dozen from staff members, and about a dozen from the community. And they found a variety of categories. Some of the categories questions were related to snow days. Wanting to know what we were going to do with snow days was a big topic. And why we don't build those into our calendar already. The answer to that is they are already built into our calendar. We go above and beyond the hours that require. Then we get subtract backwards in order to make sure that we meet minimum 2 days. So it is already built in about 6 to 8 days, depending on the year. And so if we have a terrible snow year, you know, we appreciate having those. If we don't, it's great because we have the ability with the superintendent's discretion to forgive some of those if needed. One of the other categories always deals with wanting to be done before Memorial Day. Based on where school can start, it's almost very, well, I would say impossible, but it's very difficult to make that happen before Memorial Day. There is one calendar, as you see, that does. That again is based on when snow days fall. The reason that becomes tricky is because the governor has a current start date that is a requirement. And that start date could be moving even further back, which would push us further past Memorial Day. So there's current legislation to not allow schools to start before the 25th. And if the 25th falls, August 25th, and if it falls on a weekend, then it becomes 26th or 27th. So it's getting pushed even further back with some of the legislation. So there was early legislation to try to allow schools to start before the 23rd. But that really hasn't gained any traction due to the state fair. I think there's a pretty significant lobby to not compete with the state fair basically. So we have, ever since I've been here, probably even prior to that, a survey has been sent out to staff asking questions. We sent one out last year at about this exact time, got back 168 responses. Most of the responses are very consistent and at very high rates. So for example, would you like to start as close to August 23rd as possible? 83%. Okay, what would you like for a Christmas break? Here's some options. It's almost 90% 2-week break. Would you like your spring break to match up with the Board of Regents? It's like 80%. And that's been consistent over multiple years, data. That really hasn't changed in the time that I've been here, and probably hasn't changed. We haven't always had a 2-week spring break, but that's been the most, or the 2 weeks at Christmas. But we pretty much matched with spring breaks due to our connection items. So, the one thing that the calendar, some things that came out was to try to be as consistent with our Wednesdays as possible. So we got some feedback that it was kind of confusing that some of the Wednesdays were at 2:30 or 2:45, and others were at 12:30. So we tried to move that to a consistent Monday. There was a question of why we don't put that on a Friday, because that does cause some conflicts with athletics and some other things. Having students at home instead of at school on the day of athletics, makes it a little more tricky. What else was there? Those were kind of all the big topics.
There was some hesitation about not letting coming back from a break, whether that be summer or winter and starting on a Monday, but I think. Again, just in an effort to be done as soon as we can, as close to the Memorial Day as possible. If, that's where starting school, a couple of calendars on a Monday, the 23rd falls on a weekend, a couple of years, there are a couple of the calendars that are. So you're
Yeah, so like, for example, 25, 26, as soon as we can start would be the 25th, that's a Monday. Well, I know that maybe not be the preferred, but if we bump it to the Tuesday or Wednesday, then that's just bumping us 2 days further into June. So, which isn't preferred by parents or most of our staff. So, is it ideal to start on the Monday? No, it's not ideal. But with it falling on the weekend, the way that it falls, we're really kind of stuck in a pretty tough spot there. Because I don't think that is going to change. Now, the next thing is, if the legislature were to change things and allow us to start prior to the 23rd, we can amend all of the calendars and start earlier in June, which will then push us back into May, further into May, and less away from June. So, but we have really no control over that day. We can control when we start, but we just need to understand that something has to give. So if you want a 2-week Christmas break, but you don't want to start till, like the 27th of August, we have to take some days somewhere. The days have to come out of somewhere. So for example, there's a calendar where we could go back to school on the 2nd and 3rd. But most of the holidays fall kind of funny, so we could come back on the 2nd, but that's a Friday. So it's just kind of some weird, we have kind of a weird cycle right now over 3 years. It just doesn't give us a lot of flexibility if we want 2 weeks of Christmas. If we want spring break to match up, we could cut spring break back. I don't think anyone is in favor of that probably. There are districts that do 3 days spring breaks. So there are lots of things we could do, but really we can't cut back on professional development any more than we already have. We have a required number of days that our students must attend. We have a required number of days that our staff must work. So we're kind of in some constraints that just make it a weird few calendar years. What questions would you like? In my opinion, there are a variety of things you could do to improve the calendars as they're presented to you. You could give us feedback and we can continue to look at that and then come back with you and some improvements in March. It's really entirely up to you. So we have a little bit of time. Most districts are probably looking at calendars either in February or March timeframe. So any feedback you have, we greatly appreciate it.
You said there could be up to 8 snow days built in, is that,
Well,
what's the?
yeah,
I
yeah.
think one of the things that we've always done philosophically in Dr. T is actually. And it shares what we've done historically is, we always kind of take a look at the number of snow days we've had. And then determine, because. Yes, we have time built in, we could go a little longer, we're playing more time per day, more than the 6-hour average that the 1080 comes from. I think we just have to determine what is our philosophy if We've gone 10 minutes extra every day, does that really make up a day of instruction that you miss? So I think it's a balancing act, and I know, sometimes we have to decide going into another week, and we try to prevent that, but I think that's. Yes, there's extra hours now, that all has to take into account, if we have to get out early for inclement weather, or the late start, so all of those hours can help with that, or. If there's some emergency, or we make state football and we wanna take a day, like all of those things come into consideration.
My first year, we had a lot of time break, we had canceled school today. So we had some hours to work, which is nice.
It's not snow days, it's
Yeah,
time out.
It's education time.
it's extra hours, so we have extra hours compared to the minimum the state requires, we're well above that, which gives us a little flexibility. Now, if it's a year, which. No, I shouldn't even say it, like where we had multiple snow days, many, we would have to go through that and talk about that. But so when Vix shared that, there's multiple hours in there where if we had something, but. I will tell you educationally, I don't feel overly comfortable when it gets to be maybe beyond 2 days or beyond, as you start looking at, okay, what is it we're taking away here and what does that look like? And then in addition to that, our staff has contracts for a certain number of days as well. So it's like, well, we're gonna have staff here, but we're not gonna bring the students here too. Like that seems a little, so trying to balance all that, but. So there are hours, I think 2 to 3 days seems to be, if they were snow days, kind of something to look at, but. I do look at the whole picture about what's the season, what did it look like, what can we make up, how can we do it with the least painful way for everyone. So that we can make sure we're doing our best to get to that end date.
The second part of that is we try to balance out the semesters the best we can. There are many classes where they're taught first semester and then taught again second semester. So you want to try to balance those out, so they have equal number of days. You don't see a whole bunch of days in the first semester when you're cutting almost 2 weeks off with snow and we're getting snow days at the end of the year. It's just not the same, you're not getting the same amount of curriculum. And some of those classes are college-based classes. And so they're receiving college credit, so we want to make sure that they get the instruction that they need. One thing is we can always hang our hat on when we do instruction here, and we always have. But I think that time spent in the classrooms has always been valued. Staff does have a higher number of days that they have to attend, and so they have to work a certain number of contract days. So that's a good recommend student grades.
Another piece of feedback we have is relationship and high school graduation. Like not wanting it on Memorial Day or being more consistent with the date. That is completely subject to when the last day of school is and the number of hours we are allowed to give seniors. So we can do 5 days, 30 hours, so that we always have to play with where the calendar is ending for that. So we kind of have gone back and forth. Memorial Day weekend, the weekend before, but that's all contingent on. It's not just marches.
The last day in graduation have to be within a certain number of days. So we have to try to balance that at the end of this.
I think potentially though, approving calendars more than one at a time will help families be able to look ahead and plan, that I can look ahead here and kind of figure out when graduation might be for my kids, already. And so I think that will be helpful to families rather than, finding out with that shorter time frame. The other thing is, I think if we approve these 3 calendars tonight, but by the time 26, 27 rolls around, so things have adjusted or changed, we still have the opportunity to change and adjust them and bring them forward to the board again for reapproval.
Yes, any calendar.
A year or 2 from
Any
now.
calendar can be amended up until, I don't know when, we, probably want that's for 24, 25 pretty much.
Right.
But, 25, 26, 26, 27, in 25, 26, we actually have, graduation days pending. Because we have to nail down when first day of school and last day of school is, and that will be based on what the governor does. But we have some flexibility to make adjustments at your leisure.
I think it would be wise to, the process we've gone through is a very long, arduous process every year. I don't think we can do that every year, but at least at, kind of the same time, maybe something small just to reconvene. Hey, does this look good for the next couple of years? Any changes we need to address? Okay, great. Keep it going. I don't want to forget this for 3 years,
Right.
And not even necessarily that it needs, board action, just I just want to know we're revisiting this every year, just to make sure that. Any plan 3 years from now is a scary plan, so. But, yeah, I like that, and then on the snow day, I know I appreciate the conversation around, essentially the quality of the education, and I liked your comment about, does adding 10 minutes, at the end of the day. Really add on meaningful time at the end of the year, as much as reasonable as we can really do. It's nice to know snow days at the end of the year, as soon as we can. I know it's kind of a fluid thing. I understand that as much as reasonable, as soon as we could, to know more definitively. I don't wanna be a month out from school and we're still, hey, maybe it'll be 8 more days, maybe it'll be,
Right.
So just if we could pin that down. I know I would appreciate, you don't have to, but I would appreciate. If we had a better idea as things.
I think what we can do is maybe, it seems to work well for everyone, and I know it's a tricky balance, in Iowa and with the weather, is that. Pick a specific date to say, like, we'll make a decision on snow days by this date.
Yeah.
At least that way, at least up to that point, and then we can say, okay, here's what the plan is, and I can think a little bit about what that date would be. And so then that's a nice way to be able to communicate with families too, just like we did the little video about how we decide about snow days, that's another little piece to say, by. Not saying this date, but whatever date, we'll make a decision on the 3 snow days or 2 snow days we've had so far, so people kind of know what that
You
means.
kind of want to make sure you're through that bad weather season
Correct,
before you start making, because you could make a decision and then we have 3 more snow days.
Right.
And
Like that.
so then you're moving people's cheeks again.
but I do know, I each year have gotten quite a few phone calls, there's kind of it starts a rumble that starts at a certain time, and I don't know if it's in mid-March or end of March or something, to kind of say like, hey, we can best notice, we can do, it's like, okay, we're trying to figure that out, so. It's good.
We also need to be mindful that if we do make changes, we need to bring it back to the public hearing.
Yeah, sure.
So we just need to keep that in mind if we make changes. Now, if the snow days, like we have that information on the bottom that says everything will be added to the end. But if we change the start date or something, we need to bring it back to the people and have.
I also just wanna really, I know I said it before, but I can't thank Stacy. With the amount of time that she spends going through every minute, every hour, and then she and Vic have worked on that together, and then we take it to the administrators, and then we kind of share it out with another group to kind of say, hey, take another look at this, and so the amount of time and energy and on top of kind of what we would like to see happen, what the requirements are, what our hands are tied on, and putting all that together. I'm really appreciative to all of them for that. And I think they've come forward with some really good dates and what that looks like. It's never perfect, I will say that, because of course, but also every comment that we received, they really went through line by line of those comments and say, okay, what about this? What if we did this? What if we did that? And spent the time taking those serious. So just so you're aware, that's been the process, and I'm very grateful to them as they work together on that. So.
I do have a question for Vic and Stacy. The requirements for how many hours, days, does that change on regular cadence or no? Is that pretty set in stone and it's always predictable?
We saw that in 2013, it's 10, we as you as a board, we're going to follow an hours count, not sure exactly when we make that. We do it with him, but are we gonna be an hours, or are we maybe with the approval of the calendar, you'll determine that 4 days. Different requirements, fall if you choose to be a 180 day versus the 1080 hours. The 1080 hours, most districts in the state, just gives them a lot of flexibility. That's why we can hear like Barnesdale and Mary's going to go 4-day calendar, that's one, because they have the hours.
It's students is hours, staff is days, because contractually theirs has not changed.
Sure. Well, I appreciate going through all the different scenarios, all your logic. It's very sound logic. I like the idea of starting as early as you can because it gives you most flexibility. Back to the 10 minutes, like, just from my vantage point, the priority here is our, scholarly integrity and education and deliverance. So while I would like to get out earlier, I would never want to compromise too much on that. So I really like your approach.
And what we kind of found out is that if there was a question, we want to be able to know when we can start our vacations. kind of what we found out is families gonna take vacation when they want anyways.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there are conflicts. I know as high school principal, cities had rescheduled plans at times. When things come up, kids say they, you know, have extended Christmas breaks. We always kind of make that work. We would find ourselves work with families on where they are. But you know, there's something we're just kind of stuck with. And is there 100% perfect calendars to make everybody happy? No. Are there better days to start than others? Yes, but, you know, we're kind of, we have constraints that we have to follow, and we try to do that the best we can with the information we have. And, you know, if there are further questions that you'd like us to continue to evaluate, things, we'd be more than happy to.
I'll make a motion to approve the 24, 25, 25, 26, and 26, 27 district calendars as presented.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Calendars pass. Moving on, consider approve a resolution directing expenditures of the school flexibility fund. This is to move Mansana Wellness Solutions LLC program expense of $19,150 to the flexibility account from the HSAP transfer of $20,000. The remaining $850 will be used for salaries and benefits. Any discussion? Gail, all right. Gail needs it, right? So that's good enough. Yeah. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Moving on, financial report summary, Gail.
I will be fairly quick on the financials, just a brief summary, and then I kind of would like to spend more time on the district budget preliminary. But that's closing, getting closer with some deadlines. But the financials, basically, on page 2 of the verbal, the chart, as you can see, the red on the monthly revenues, and the revenues year to date are lagging a little bit, and that is shown by the red. So if you're a visual person, this is kind of a quick snapshot of. But then on the offside of that, our monthly expenses and year-to-date expenses are below our budget. So as we know, the timing is really important. Well, not important. Timing is everything with schools, because it can hit different times, and a majority of our revenues and expenditures happen in our 13th month in June. A lot of activity happens June, July, in that June fiscal year. But I don't know if you read my the district, the department budget, but I invoiced lots of schools for tuition in January, and so those will be coming in. And sometimes they come in at different times, and so that could be, but the majority of ours is the property taxes. It's different than it was last year on timing, but we will also claim and invoice for tuition in June. So those are our 2 big property taxes, state aid, and tuitions. Those are our big 3 revenue streams, sources. So then my next thing that if anybody has any questions, I don't want to cut it short, but I wanted to get this out so you guys can see it. We've been working on the district budget to be approved. We will have a hearing on March 25th, which is the earliest we can have a hearing after the auditors send out the proposed property tax statement to the patrons. Is the new thing this year. That has to be out by the 15th. I have to have my information done by March 7th. So this is where we're at right now, and this is compared to where we were at last year, kind of a side by side. But as I am presenting this tonight, I'm very concerned. The governor was supposed to sign the SSA last week. It was supposed to be approved last week. no action, and so this one is based on her recommendation of a 2.5. Now, if there's no, it goes to 0 if they don't approve something. So,
And that's happened.
so my concern is with this new property tax statement that's going out to our patrons, is we have to protect ourselves as a district, because we cannot spend more than that property tax statement says in dollars for property taxes. The more state aid, the lower the property tax. The lower the state aid, the higher property tax dollars. So there's a big difference between 0 and 2.5. So at some point, this, a decision needs to be made, and if a no decision, I guess what I'm thinking at this point is I have to have my information to the auditor by March 7th. And if there is no bill or no guidance of that something is going to be set and signed for the SSA, we don't really have a choice but to lower it to 0. Because I would not want to put our district in a position that we go with a 2.5 and then it comes in much lower, and then we can't spend more than what we told our taxpayers. So that's the approach I'm going to take going forward. Is March 7th is my deadline, and I'll send you guys an email and just give you an idea. So because we will have an opportunity for the taxpayers to come on the March 25th meeting after they receive the property tax statement. So and it's all new. All this is new. It's going to be confusing I'm confused after doing this for over 30 years. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm a very sequential person, and in like this change, it's like, oh, I don't want to miss the deadlines. And then with the governor, or with nothing set in stone last week, was the SSA was supposed to be decided. It's not. So there's a lot of unknowns going forward when we're supposed to have a lot of knowns to help us through the process. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll give it some more time. We have a little bit of time, but I'm not going to wait. I'm going to protect the district and have to go with a lower 0% to give us that protection. But I'll let you guys know where it comes in, and hopefully there's progress within tomorrow. So some direction.
No, that's good. We have to be conservative with that, and especially getting ready to go acquire lots of money.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we're
So
an issue with water rates, things like that.
the biggest thing that I want to, and we've talked about this, so it's great that we've had Travis come in and talked about the cash reserve. So the biggest difference here is you can see last year's cash reserve, last year was 116,000, this year is 1.4. And so basically pretty much everything instruction, it's based, the little changes is due to student enrollment increase. Instructional support increase, student enrollment. The PEPAL and the debt service, that is just a straight levy. So that increase is just because our taxable valuations increased, because it's just a flat. So when you go down here, the general fund last year was 9.61, this year's estimated 11.34. And last year's management, it was 1.4. Now our philosophy was, as soon as that cash reserve was back in 100%, or we were going to levy, we were going to pull back on the management, because we've been doing the maximum of that levying that, because we knew that cash reserve was going to come back. So we're just going to do a switch, pull back on the management and increase on the cash reserve. And so that's the difference. When you see the comparison of the general fund, it is all cash reserve. It's 100% property taxes. But then to offset that, we pull back on the management. So our whole goal is to have a pretty consistent levy rate going across, and not, have up and down on that. So as close as we could get to 705 is our goal, and we're at 1706, and there's still lots of changes that could happen because nothing's finalized yet. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Questions for you?
Thank you, Gail.
Please, thank you.
On to the consent agenda. Is there anything needs to be discussed or pulled out? All right, the motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda passes. Calendar, possible date for superintendent annual evaluation. What's our deadline on that?
We usually do it March or April. March is kind of a hard month because we have spring break, so I would say April.
I would say if we can do it before, or after maybe our April 8th meeting.
Yes.
You don't want to do it the week before, that's April Fools, might get the wrong idea.
April 15th is probably it's tax day.
April 15th is next Monday.
I'm unavailable that day.
I'm gonna guess it's gonna take at most an hour. You would throw, I would say more along the 45-minute range. So for superintendent review, so I think
Extend the length of our April 8th meeting.
just do it closed session afterwards.
Yeah.
That works for me.
It works for me better to go after. That'll work.
That's fine with me.
All right,
Okay.
so immediately following the April 8th regular board meeting. Okay, conflicts with any of those dates, or we get on that? We don't need a motion on that. Yeah. No.
So the public hearing on March 25th. Do we have a meeting that night too?
So the March 25th, it can be, we do not have to have any other business that night. But we were required to hold a public hearing for the property tax for people, that they'll be getting the property tax statement on the 15th, you know, so that's that.
Probably be a zero, right?
What?
Which, that will probably be a zero,
Yeah,
right? So that's,
yeah, so we have to get the, so the only thing we're required to do that night is the public hearing. Now, I don't know if we'll have any personnel, I don't know,
We need 3 more members here for that.
we just did a form.
Yeah, so we'll, if you can,
I
I
am,
can.
Yeah,
I
you
am,
just need a form.
I'm at work, so I might.
One that's on-
I'll be here, I'll be here.
Yeah, will we have a form?
I didn't hear.
I will be here.
I can be here, I just wasn't, I didn't understand.
Yeah. I'll be here too.
So we'll have a.
I'll try.
We'll have a forum for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, great, because it is published, so we won't have a choice to have it. Okay, sounds great.
All right. Do we need to continuing the meeting or?
Yeah, so what the process will be is we have 2 closed sessions coming up. So closed session, President will you'll call a break so we can get organized, and then we won't actually close our business meeting until we come out of closed sessions. And then we'll adjourn the regular meeting. Okay,
Mr. President, is it okay if I stop the stream when we're done here before close board meeting and then not record for the back section? Okay,
If we don't have any action to take after that, right? We're
it's just an adjournment.
Yeah, that's fine. So we'll go ahead and how much time do we need? Are we meeting in here?
Can we do about 5-10 minutes?
Perfect.
I mean,
Yeah.
we get a reporter and get people out, lock the doors.
All right.
Yeah.
Short break.
Uh,
5 to 10 minutes.
go to close session.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
We can do it after. It doesn't matter. Either one. We'll make sure we do it. Okay.
That was in the layer.
Okay. And then take a break. Okay.
Okay.
So do you need a motion to go in closed session?
Okay, so to
Yeah,
go
I
into
got it.
closed session, we have to have a motion and then in a second, and then we have to have a roll call vote. So I'll be going through the roll call, okay? Okay, is there a motion to go into closed session for, and there's a sample motion,
Yeah.
did you see the sample motion?
Yeah, yep. I move to enter into a closed session as provided by Iowa Code sections 21.5(1)(a) to review or discuss records which are required or authorized by law to be kept confidential and Iowa Code Section 21.51C to discuss strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent. Second.
Who was the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Josh,
Yes.
Nathan,
Yes.
Melissa. Yep. Mindy
Yes.
and Andrew.
Yep.
Do we go ahead and do the second one right there? No, okay.
All right.
No.
Now we take a quick break.